sir, shall we start?
Yes, Iman sir, Vinod sir is okay, right?
Yeah, you can start, Sweta.
Yeah, yes. Shweta, you can start.
Okay, sir. A warm and graceful evening to one and all present here. I am S.M. Shweta, student from the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, here to volunteer for today's session. On behalf of St. Joseph's Institute of Technology, I welcome you all to this auspicious event of Student Development Program organized by Electronics and Robotics Club, St. Joseph's Institute of Technology. I would also like to welcome our beloved chairman, Dr. B. Babu Manoharan sir, Managing Director, Ms. Jessipriya ma'am, Director, Mr. Sasi Shekhar sir, and our Principal, Dr. P. Ravichandran sir, who has always given us their constant support for organizing this event, this Student Development Program series. It's my immense pleasure to welcome our today's speaker, Mr. Manish and Mr. Kamlesh. I would like to share some words about Mr. Manish. Mr. Manish is a member of IEEE EMBS Society, and he is also a member of ERC Club and Robotics Club. He is going to be a member of IETE. His achievements hold he is an active participant in various internships with Stanford Apparel's privately. Before we move on with the session, I kindly request all the participants to mute their mics and turn off their videos. Mr. Manish, you can take over the session successfully. Thank you.
Thank you, Akka, for the intro. Myself, MAANESH, second year ECE, St. Joseph Institute of Technology. Topics that are going to be covered today by me are functions. In that, we'll be seeing main two types, user-defined and built-in function. We won't be seeing about lambda functions, since it's a slight over concept for us. Then we'll be going about parameters and arguments, and types of arguments and return statement, along with codes. Then scope of variable, local variables, global variables, along with code and recursive function. This is what we are going to see today. What is a function? A function is a block of code which only runs when it is called. You can pass data known as parameters into a function. A function can return data as a result. The main two types are user-defined function. Those are defined by the user to perform a specific task. For example, swapping of two numbers. Built-in function or predefined functions in Python. For example, eval and input. Advantages of using function or by using function, we can decompose a complex problem into simpler subproblems. Thus, we can improve the clarity of code. Another important use of function is reusability. We can reuse them, we can call them whenever we want. Therefore, we can avoid repetition of codes. Frequently used built-in functions are given here. First, length returns the length of an object. Int returns an integer number. Input, allowing user input. This is syntax for creating a function. Ref is a keyword along with the function name is used to define the function. The identifier rule must follow function name. That is, the function name cannot be a keyword. It cannot start with a number. Hope you all remember, which was taught in the first class. A function accepts parameters or arguments. They can be optional. You can give nil parameter or up to n numbers. The function block starts after the colon. The colon marks the beginning of function block. And all the elements inside the function block should be having the same indentation. Return statement is not a must. You can have a return statement if you want to return a value to the main function. And there can be only one return statement inside a function. This is more like a ritual. Hello world problem is a basic thing which everyone runs for understanding. Let us move on to parameters and arguments. Arguments. Information can be passed into functions as arguments. Arguments are specified after the function name inside the parenthesis. You can add as many arguments as you want. Just separate them with a comma. Arguments are often shortened to args in Python documentation. Another important thing is parameter argument can be used for the same thing, information that are passed into a function. From a function's perspective, the only difference is a parameter is the variable listed inside the parenthesis in the function definition. An argument is the value that is sent to the function when it is called. The types of arguments are required arguments, keyword arguments, default arguments, and variable length arguments. First, we will be seeing required arguments. This depends on the number of arguments. By default, a function must be called with the correct number of arguments, meaning that if your function expects 2 arguments, you have to call the function with 2 arguments, not more or not less. I reckon not more or not less. If you try to call the function with 1 or 3 arguments, you will get an error when you are having 2 arguments as a must. Okay, now let us see an example. Def is a keyword to define a function. Then I'm going to give my function will be the name of my function. Let us have two parameters or arguments, name, comma, age. Let us print them here itself. In this case, we are not having a written statement. Since we are not returning anything, then I'll show you how, in which way you're using a built-in function. Input is a built-in function to receive user input. Now we are going to call the function. The function will be called by function name along with the arguments. Right. Now let us run the function. Let us give him a name Jack. Let us age be 23. The compiler isn't working properly. Let us directly give the name and age over here. Let us give the age as 22. Let us run it. It has been run successfully. Now let us move on to the next type. In this type, let us see an example before that. In this function, name has been sent as the argument. It has been given to that function. So the message will be hi plus name. Name here giving user input. So whatever the input the user is giving, for example, Jack in that case, you will be getting a message as hi Jack. Here, when we have given two arguments, we have defined two arguments in the function definition. So two arguments is a must. When we give only a single argument, will be getting error. So in this case, as we said, the number of argument matters. So age is must. Now let us see what is a variable length argument or arbitrary arguments. When numbers of arguments are not defined or more, then variable length argument is used. If you do not know how many arguments are really passed into your function, add a star parameter in the function definition. This is a keyword. This way the function will receive a tuple of arguments and can access the items accordingly. Let us see the example. Here we have not defined the number of arguments, so we can give as much as we want. Let us run the program. I missed the function name. Let us run it again. Therefore, the answer is the youngest child is Jack. Arbitrary arguments are often shortened as star ARJs in Python documentation. Now let us see about keyword arguments. In keyword arguments, you can send arguments with key value syntax. This way, the order of the arguments does not matter. The phrase keyword arguments are often shortened as star KWARGS in Python documentation. Let us see an example. Okay. Here, we can change the order. The function definition, you can see that name has been given first. Since this one follows key value syntax, here the key is age. So we can use it just like that. Here I can give the age, then followed by the name. You don't see the order, we just see the key that is given in the function definition, and along with it will match and it will print. Let us see. Okay, let us move to the next type of argument. In keyword argument itself, we have another type, that is arbitrary keyword arguments. The is the example. You do not know how many keyword arguments that will be passed into your function. Add to star before the parameter name in the function definition. This way, the function will receive a dictionary of arguments and access them accordingly. Dictionary itself having a key value sequence. It's a set of keys and values. Then arbitrary keyword arguments are often shortened as star star KWARGS in Python documentation. Let us see them with an example. Let the child's first name be John and second name be Kennedy. John Kennedy. Last name is Kennedy. Answer has been correct. Another important thing in function is you can have a documentary string. That is in the function of the function block. You can write what the function is going to do, a description about the function. In this case, it's child's last name. Don't show any error. This is a documentary string. Next one, we'll be seeing about the default parameter value, that is default arguments. If you call a function without argument, it uses a default value. Let us see the example. Let us go to the previous example. We will make a slight change in that. Age. For age, let us set a default value for age. Let age be default value for age be 22. Let us give the name. Let the name be XYZ. Then in the first case, we are not going to give the age. In this case, it will use the default age, that is 22. Age is being set to 22. In the other case, we are having a change in age. If the user is giving a different age, it will print that. So with XYZ and 34, hope you understood. This is about default arguments. Then with or without return statement. Return statement is used at the end of the function and returns the result of the function. It terminates the function execution and returns the result of what function call. Return statement cannot be used outside of the function. If there is no return statement, then the function returns none object. These are the example. Let us run an example code. Let us add the sums. Maybe. The first case will return the sum. We are assigning sum as we are going to assign the end product of my sum or my function. What the my function is going to return will be assigned to this sum. Let us give two values, 3 plus 3 and 9. 3 and 8. Now we are going to print sum. Now 3 plus 8 is 11 and we are going storing it in C and we are going to return the C to the function call. Therefore, when you call the function, the C, the value of C will come here, will come to the function call and we are storing that in sum. Now to directly print what will happen if you're not having the return statement. If you're not having a written statement, it will return none object. Since you're not having a written statement, since we can have only one written statement, people might think that we cannot pass multiple values. If you want to pass multiple values, we can use tuple or list. I'll show an example with list. Okay, let us find the average of these two. Let it be D. D is equal to C by 2. And let us return it in the form of a string. Okay. Since the sum is 11 and the average, that is 11 by 2 is 5.5, it has been returned. So there can be only one return statement. But if you want to return multiple values, you can use tuple or list. Tuple is preferred since it is immutable. You cannot change anything in that. Okay. Next, we'll be moving to scope of variable. What is the scope of a variable? Let us see that. A variable is only available from inside the region it is created. This is called scope. What is local scope? A variable created inside a function belongs to the local scope of that function and can only be used inside that function. Let us see this with an example. Okay. Let us use the same example. You are having two arguments, and now we are going to assign a is equal to 5. Then we are going to print a. Let us have a variable c. It is equal to sum of these two, a and b, a plus b. And here, let us have another variable called c, which is equal to which has been set to 6. Or let us call this function with passing a as 2 and b as 8. And here, let us print c. And we'll print another, we have another print statement outside that. This one also can print c. Let us see what happens. In the first case, inside the function, the c has been set to a plus b. That is sum of 2 and 8, that is 10. outside the function, C has been assigned the value of 6 and it prints 6. Why it doesn't print 10 outside? That will be the question. Since it has been declared inside the function as a local scope, therefore it cannot be printed outside. In this case, let us see how to convert that into a global scope. We can use global keyword. Let us declare a variable. Let us have two variables. Let's not have any argument for this one, for this example. Let us declare the variable C as global. It will be a global variable. Global C. And we are setting C equal to 10. And what will happen? We are calling the function. In the first case, but let us not declare it. Let us see what is on. We are having a value C. I want to print that. Name C is not defined since it is not having any value. Now let us use the global statement, global keyword, and let us print. In both the case, the variable C has been declared as global. It can be used throughout the program. In the first case, it can be used since it was declared only inside the function. It has been restricted to the function, a block. Now it has been given it has been declared global. Therefore, it can be printed anywhere. In that case, it has been printed outside, even outside C. Okay. In another example, let us see what happens when we have two variables having same name. Let us have another variable called C, which is equal to 6. These both of them are inside. Okay, we're not going to do anything. These two variables, these two values are set to a same variable name. Okay. In this case, which one will get printed? This one is me outside. This is me global. This this one has a global scope, whereas this one has a local scope. When a single variable name has two values, one is a local, one is having local scope, will be preferred first. Therefore, inside the function, only local thing will be printed. Outside, this C has been local to that. You can also use this with global keyword. By giving global, we are giving full access. That's why here it has been set as different. Okay. The variable defined outside any function is set to have global scope and declared using keyword global within any function. This is an example problem. Let us see what is a recursive function. A function calling itself again and again, it's known as recursion. The advantages are avoid repetitive structure present in any problem. Even in a function, you'll be if you want to calculate, for example, factorial of n numbers, you have to repeat the same code, right? In that case, we can use recursion. And complex case analysis and nested loops can be avoided. Make code look clean and elegant. And sequence generation is easier with recursion than using some nested iteration. It will be very difficult to understand. Disadvantage: this is having a long execution time, and the runtime stack more things are required. It stores more data. If recursion is too deep, then there is a danger of running out of space in the stack. All the data will be combining one by one, so there should be some memory blockage. And logic behind recursion is hard to follow and debug. For beginners, it's very difficult to understand recursion. Decode a recursive function. Okay, we'll see this. We'll run and see this example. let the we can say n equal to 3 for easy understanding. Then let us call the function. First, let me explain it. When we are giving 3 as an input, first we will check whether 3 is equal to 1 or not. It is not equal to 1. Therefore, it will be executing the else condition. In else, we will be having return n, that is a number, that is here it's 3. Let us explain to you the common thing. It's 3 in the first one. Then it is 3 star factorial of 2. T minus 1 is 2. That means it is again calling that function. The factorial is a function name. We are calling the function again. So in the next step, we'll be having three. In this case, we'll be having 2. 2 is not equal to 1. Therefore, we'll be having 2 into factorial of 1. In this case, will be factorial of 1, that is x equal to 1. Therefore, 1 is equal to 1. Therefore, it will return 1. Since in factorial 0 factorial is 1, 1 factorial is 1. There is no need to go till 0. Therefore, you have to at some point you have to stop that function, stop that case. Therefore, you are using that. We are setting this as a termination case. Let us print it. N numbers are 6. For better understanding, I will give the steps over here. In the first case is 3. We are sending 3 to the function. Therefore, 3 into, in that return stream, we are having factor of n minus 1, that is 3 minus 1 is 2. We are again calling the function second time. Therefore, it is 3 star, 3 into 2 into, third time it is factor of n. In this case, it is n is equal to 2. Therefore, 2 minus 1 is 1. The third call, we are calling n is equal to 1. And we are returning 1 in the first case. Therefore, it's 3 into 2 into 1. For further clarification, this is the important thing. We are calling that function the first time. 3 has been passed as the argument. Therefore, 3, it has been given over here. You can do the diagram. 3 into factorial of 2. Hope it is clear. Then, COVID cases are soaring in India. So, wear mask, have a keep your hands sanitized and maintain social distance. Thank you. And work out and be consistent. Our process is so easy. And now my friend Kamalesh will be discussing about modules and packages in Python. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish, for your wonderful presentation. Now, the speaker about to take over the session is Mr. Kamalesh. Before that, I would like to share a few words with Kamalesh. He is a member of IEEE Antenna and Propagation Society. He is also a member of ERC Club and Robotics Club. He is going to be a member of IET and frequent MUN participant. His achievements hold: he won the first place as verbal commendation at Ecliptic Model United Nations Conference and won Galactic Problem Solver Award at NASA International Space App Challenge Hackathon. Okay, Kamlesh, you can take over the session further.
So hello guys, I guess you learned some concept and some insights about functions previously by Manesh. So for now, we are going to get into libraries in Python programming. So these three are going to be our main focus and aim for learning today. So you can say that libraries are a part when you download and install your Python programming version. So by the moment, you can say that standard libraries includes functions, classes, and objects, and also data types. So everything else we can use when writing a program is a library. So these are the timeline of library in Python. So first is you have to know what are the libraries that are present in Python programming, and you should know how to access it. And then you should know what are the features, as each library consists of its unique features and performance. So, and then you have to use your right library and right function in your code. So usually in Python libraries, module can be imported for a function, even it is written before or already. By the way, libraries are a collection of methods and classes. It can be used and easily and the way you want. So hence Python is usually made up of three different components like packages, module, and functions or sub modules. So libraries are a set of useful functions that eliminate the need for writing a code from initially, and especially when developing some future technology like artificial intelligence, deep learning, or machine learning. So I have a question for you all. Can anyone answer what is a library? So here we are going to see how to access libraries in Python. At first, you'll be required to learn and understand what exactly the libraries are in Python, and which will make a good impact for the code that you are writing and compiling. And next, we have you have to select appropriate module, which is very important as libraries count is in more in number, more in features. Each, as I said, libraries have more features in different functionalities. And next we have using the library. So have you wondered how you are going to use libraries in your code? Hence, it is using a keyword called import. As I said, making sure that picking up a right library is very important while you are importing the correct user module.
Kamalesh,
Sir?
turn your camera, please. Okay, you proceed.
Actually, I'm at my outside, so I couldn't able to.
No problem. You proceed. You proceed. You continue.
So at first, you're choosing the right platform to write the code using the libraries and modules. Right platform means there are some platforms like Python terminal with available of different versions like 3.1, 3.9, 2.4 like that. So and we have well popular tool called Anaconda Navigator, which is useful for very performing or writing codes and codes for developing projects like face recognition or or some projects in the data science or maybe. So next we have import keyword. So using import keyword, getting the right user module for our code is very important. Initially, you have to just import a library, and you may think why we are using the term user module. So mostly we'll be discussing about in the programs, right? So we have here some list of some Python programs, libraries that are present today. So let's take a look what are some libraries present in Python. But usually in Python there are around 1,37,000 of libraries in Python world. But we are going to use only these. Learn is about only 5 libraries. So now let's start with NumPy. In NumPy, usually it's abbreviated as numerical Python, and it's called as one of the most scientific libraries in Python programming, and it's used to perform different operations like domain of linear algebra, Fourier transform, and matrices. As you learn, you maybe have learned in your higher secondaries. So, and for NumPy, simply usually NumPy is already installed, or for to install NumPy, we have a keyword called pipe. So we'll be installing NumPy using pipe keyword. So and next we have pandas. So pandas is usually working with arrays in data analytics, as like collecting the data and visualizing or using it. As I said, it's an open source platform very useful for fast data manipulating. And next we have matplotlib. This library is specifically useful for working with arrays and for representing the information in the form of graphical forms like pie chart or bar chart or and other types of plots. So next we have SciPy. It's usually pronounced as SciPy, and it's very useful for to solve like scientific and mathematical integration problems. So usually it's very user friendly, and that has greater flexibility towards Python programming. And at last we have Pygame. So it's used to create cross-platform set of Python modules, which will be very vital in creating a video game. So hence it is a free and open source platform to use. So however, you will be learning about Pygame in upcoming sessions of the student development program. So we move to the next slide. Now let's take a look at where the libraries are used in future technologies. So it's more probably used in data science and analytics. So in data science, we have big data, data cleaning, web scraping, data visualization, and data collection. And next, it's very useful for machine learning, for performing algorithmical functions, and we have computer vision, and we have astronomical. And it's very useful for astronomical technologies, and it's most widely used by NASA. So guys, now we are going to write some. So these are the access point of some additional libraries I took. So for performing and writing libraries, I could recommend you there's a well-known platform called Anaconda Navigator tool, which is very popular tool for Python in machine learning and artificial intelligence. So first, for to install libraries, there's a prompt called Anaconda PowerShell prompt, which can install libraries using pipe keyword. So as you see, I want to install a library called Pygame. So as I'm using command directory. So I'm installing it. So after some time it gets installed and shows that it has been successfully installed in your PC. So as you see up here, I'm trying to install a TensorFlow library. It shows that the requirement is already been satisfied. So which means that the library TensorFlow is already installed in my computer. So which shows that I don't require to install it again. So now we are going to write some programs using libraries in the Python 3.9 64-bit compiler and followed by in Jupyter in Anaconda Navigator. At first, we are going to import data time module. So here we are importing data time user module. Here data time is usually called as a user module after being imported from its respective directory. So DTT is called as a referring module. So here so here we have imported data time module. So here data time module supplies classes for manipulating dates and time. Here we have imported data time module using import data time statement. So this is called as a statement. So then we have used today method, which is defined in the data class, date class, to get the data object. So here we have got a data object containing the current local date currently now. So we have got the output. So now we are going to redirect into the Anaconda Navigator to perform some statistical methods to run some libraries for Python. So before that, so this is called as Anaconda Navigator. I already installed these packages from using Anaconda terminal. So I installed the Datalore, IBM, Jupyter Lab, Notebook, and PowerShell prompt. Now we are going to perform some statistical programs in Jupyter. So here we are going to find one statistical method called mean for a set of specific numbers. So for that, we are going to first, we're going to install, or import NumPy from its respective directory. So I have imported NumPy, and so now we are going to create and declare the value, the list. I have declared the variables in the list. So here we have used mean method to the mean object. This is called as a class object. And when we are printing mean underscore value, so now we are getting output for mean here as a 5.6. Similarly, when I try for median, similarly here we are using median method, and we used same mean method, and here we have used median method. So we are printing it now. So hence we are getting the output for median as 4.0. So we are now at the end of the session. So thank you so much for your kind patience and listening to the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamlesh, for your wonderful presentation. Well, this is the time for the Q&A session. And Manish are open to answer any of the questions you know. How do you get input from user in Python?
So
Can I
repeat
have the
question?
answer, please? Yeah,
Can you
sure.
repeat the question?
How do you get input from user in Python?
The user input are read using the built-in function input.
Kamalesh, stop your presenting, Kamalesh. Yeah.
The user input are read using the built-in function input.
Okay, thank you. What will happen if you pass parameters when the function already has values?
When the function parameter has been already set to a default value, in that case, if an user is giving another value, use a value which has been given in the function call.
Okay, thank you. Can you call a variable declared in a function or outside the function?
A variable declared in global scope can be accessed anytime, anywhere.
Okay. Will the interpreter execute the function first or the function call?
Because the execution always begins at the first statement of the function. The function of the program. The function definition does not alter the flow. But the one thing is that the statement inside the function are not executed until the function is called.
Okay. To make a variable global in Python, is the keyword global a must or not?
Inside the function, it is a must.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your answers. Now,
Thank
this
you.
is the time for the vote of thanks. Is SM Shweta to express our gratitude on behalf of St. Joseph's Group of Institutions and the entire fraternity of the institution. First of all, I extend my sincere thanks to the Almighty for making today's event a resounding success. I extend a hearty thanks to today's prolific speakers, Mr. Kamalesh and Mr. Manish, for their stupendous presentation on Python. I also thank our head of the department, Dr. C. Jnana Kausalya ma'am, staff and student affairs, Dr. G. Rohini ma'am, lab affairs, and all the other faculties for organizing the event successfully. Last but not the least, I thank all the student faculties across India and other countries for their active participation. This event will be continued tomorrow by another eminent speaker. I request the interested participants to register for upcoming webinar series. Once again, thank you all. Have a great time.